Chapter 211, Mark's Stance on Western Yan. Does your store have any new types of weapons that are yet to be made public? Zhu Jianhong put forth his first question, slowly revealing his intentions for this meeting. Mark didn't expect such a question, but he answered with a nod. Yes, there were a few, but the firearms were fairly new in the society. So, it will only confuse everyone if I display everything in the store. Mark's reply brought a smile to the prince. Can I see them? He appeared to be eager. This time Mark intended to reject him, but before he gave a reply, the king shut him off in a stern tone. This isn't the time to fool around, Shen Zhai. Just be quiet for a while and let us talk. As the prince was visibly disappointed, the king looked at Zhu Jianhong and signaled him to continue. Prime Minister Zhu then asked, out of the weapons you sell, which one is the costliest one, and which one is the most popular one? This question had Mark think for a bit. Somehow, he could guess the other party's intentions. So, he answered truthfully about Chimera SGM and single-shot pistol. I see, Prime Minister Zhu nodded in understanding. There was a plan going on in his mind. After that, he asked a few questions, mostly related to the sales of the weapons and the client. He didn't inquire the exact numbers, but just asked in general, such as which days people buy more and what kind of people buy his weapons. Were they civilians, spirit warriors, wealthy individuals, nobles, elite scholars, etc.? So Mark answered him without hiding, as he guessed that this guy would investigate later, anyway. Once he was done with his questions, almost getting the information on what was required to make the deal, Zhu Jianhong turned his head to look at the king, who was calmly observing them in patience. Your Majesty, I'm done. Shen Qiu then leaned forward towards the table, placing his hands on it with a serious look on his face. Mr. Lu, let's get to the real business. Mark asked, what is it that you wish to speak to me in person? In response, Shen Qiu suddenly brought up another topic out of nowhere. What do you think about the Kunyu bandits? Mark stared at him in silence, while thinking of how to answer now that the cat is out of the bag. From that simple question, he realized that their real intention is probably to discuss the war that was going to happen soon. Considering the sour relations between the Western Moon Kingdom and the Phoenix Empire, it won't be a surprise if the Western Moon helps Prince Feng Wu. But then again, Western Moon cannot interfere in the internal matters of Phoenix matter, at least, not openly, because it would break the ancient treaty between them, letting the Empire give an opportunity to invade this independent kingdom. And once Phoenix Empire invades Western Moon, her northern neighbor, the Lian Empire, would be involved and escalate the matter. Who knows? This can start a full-blown war between the two large empires, eventually destroying the tiny independent kingdom. So what can be done? They can either try to improve their relations or create disturbance in the enemy state. If it had been the original king, he would have thought of his people and tried to compromise on the issues, but currently, an impostor is sitting on the throne of Lunaris City, and he doesn't seem like he wants to bow before Emperor Shang. Now, the only question remains is that whether his suspicions about them siding with Feng Wu is true or not. After all, they already knew about Feng Wu's 300,000 gold coins of purchase. Mark knew that he had to answer carefully. After a brief amount of time, he replied, honestly, I don't care about Western Yan. I'm a businessman and I only see profits. At the moment, the profits lie with the Imperial Palace, so I was willing to delay the order. Your actions and your words don't match, Mr. Lu, responded Shen Qiu, taking Mark by surprise. According to the information we have got, they have several metal puppets that look like a lesser version of the one used to demolish the Song clan. Mark's heart skipped a beat and almost spilled the wine, but he managed to calm himself and thought, it looks like my suspicions are right. These guys are in cahoots with Prince Feng Wu. Clearing his throat, Mark then said, I will reiterate my statement. I made the deal with Emperor Shang and delayed the order to Feng Wu. However, if some stranger comes to my store and pays the amount for a weapon, I will sell them without bothering to investigate their background. They might have bought it in other ways. There's nothing to be done, and it doesn't concern me who bought what either." "I see." A slight disappointment flashed on Shen Qiu's face, but was quickly replaced by calmness. "Not much for a reaction, huh?" thought Mark when he observed the three of them. He took a sip of wine again while thinking about his next move. Mark didn't fall into the trap set by them and just stuck to the same thing. He was also testing their relationship with Kunyu bandits. Only he and Feng Wu knew a complete truth, and if Shen Qiu exposes that truth, then that would mean he was betrayed by Feng Wu. If not, then there's nothing to be worried about. Of course, since they are strangers, Mark also knew that Shen Qiu probably will not confess the truth even if he and Feng Wu are close allies. And once he gets replaced by the real king, then everything will be buried. Either way, Mark will be safe. Still, he has yet to confirm the real truth, so Mark wanted to push the matter. He asked, "What do you think about them, Your Majesty? Do you think Kunyu bandits need to reclaim their homeland?" Maybe the Prime Minister was expecting this question. Before the king gave the reply, he answered right away. "Well, Western Yan is our neighboring region, and we have border issues even before their annexation into Phoenix Empire. The matters over there will impact our kingdom. It would be best for us if the region is stable." "Somehow, it feels like you support their cause, Mr. Zhu, but your problem will not be solved even if they get into power." Mark pushed him again to get clarity while showing off his knowledge from the past world. Stability can never occur in a region that was occupied by force. Even if Kunyu bandits were wiped out then, some other rebel group will rise. Whether it is an independent region or whether it is a controlled region, only economic development will help those people. Unlike nobles or wealthy people, a common man would always be satisfied with his life as long as he has to fill his stomach 3 times a day, clothes to wear every day, and a house to sleep in. If they have enough money for other things, they won't bother with who is sitting on the throne. And if Kunyu bandits will somehow reclaim their kingdom, they would have to worry about food supplies and everything because they would be making enemies of the Phoenix Empire. In such a case, they will turn to you. If you don't provide help, then Leon Empire will surely take advantage of the situation. Once that happens, Western Yan will be caught between 2 huge powers, which will only increase instability at your border. There will be an influx of refugees to your kingdom, increasing the problems. That means the best thing you can do is to balance the relations between the 2 empires like your ancestors did, and make sure you have a say in the matters of Western Yan. In my opinion, this can be considered a peaceful solution. Of course, there's always an option of indiscriminately massacring thousands to instill deep fear into the remaining hundreds of thousands of citizens, but that's a cruel thing to do and might have consequences unless you are a supreme being no one dares to question. While the king felt as if he was being lectured by an outsider and got annoyed a little bit, the Prime Minister, on the other hand, nodded in agreement and praised, "Mr. Lu has a good insight." Meanwhile, a look of shock appeared on the face of Prince Shenjai upon hearing the explanation. "How is this possible? Wow," he exclaimed, drawing the attention of everyone because of his strange reaction. Mark looked at him. Chapter 212.1 Mark Meets Shen Ling Part 1. Shenjai couldn't keep the words in his heart and immediately spoke. "My cousin said the exact same words a few days ago when we talked about the matter. I guess intellectual people think alike. You should meet her, Mr. Lu. You will become great friends." "A cousin." Meanwhile, Mark remembered that King Shen Niu has a daughter and fell into thoughts. If the situation had been different, he would have been curious about her who appeared to be thinking in the same line as him, but for now, he couldn't believe his words. Mark's mind wandered off to another matter all of a sudden. Why is he dragging the princess in this matter, unless he was either plainly telling the truth or scheming something else? If it is the former, then the prince is naive, and if it is the latter, then he felt the need to be careful. After all, Shen Niu's daughter should be a thorn in Shen Qiu's eyes. Setting him up with her is the best way for Shen Qiu. He can not only solidify Mark's relationship with the Western Moon, but also remove her from politics. Even if she can't hold a position, as a child of a king, she will always have a considerable influence within the kingdom. What if some noble marry her? Then, their son will be eligible to sit on the throne in the future. Isn't it best to marry her to a commoner like Mark? Once she marries a commoner, according to the tradition, her status as a royal princess will be removed, and nothing can stop Shen Zhai to succeed his father. Of course, all of this theory was just in Mark's head. Acquiring powerful skills and various weapons, meeting the emperor and the imperial children, getting respected by wealthy individuals. All of these boosted his confidence and made him even believe that he was indeed worthy to marry any princess of a kingdom or an empire. Of course, he wasn't conceited, at least in his view. Mark knew his potential very well, and he was also confident in toppling the empires as long as he has enough time. With the ruling family always full of conspiracies no matter the place, Mark couldn't help but think that way. To find out their plans for him, he played along with the prince. I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea to exchange the ideas. In truth, Shen Qiu never had such plans. It was only after Mark spouted such words that something clicked in his mind. He tried to divert the topic by throwing his niece's bait. "Mr. Lu, I must admit that your thinking is in the same line as my daughter, Shen Ling. You can consider it as huge praise because my daughter had graduated with top grades from the Heavenly Academy, which is not only the best institution in Lian Empire, but also reputed to be the best in the entire world. Even the scholars of our court would lose an argument with her. I believe that either you two can become good acquaintances, or you might learn something new from her." Bragging about his niece left a bad taste in Shen Qiu's mouth, but at the moment, he had only this solution in his mind. After all, from the start, he planned to support Kunyu bandits in secret and create unrest in the Phoenix Empire. Seeing that Mark had enemies all over the empire and even took the order from Kunyu bandits, Shen Qiu thought that he could be an ally if the rumors about him are true. However, Mark's response made him suspect whether he can be tamed. If not, then it would be best to keep him distant. This is what Shen Qiu's concluded in the end. On the other hand, Zhu Jianhong always had the impression that Mark could improve the might of their military with his weapons. Not to mention, the presence of an additional 7-circle realm expert could also help the kingdom in diplomacy. It is why he actively pushed forward for this meeting. Now, all that's left is to see whether Mark's strength is the real deal or not. He had already made the arrangements and will act on the following day. After Shen Qiu successfully diverted Mark's attention for a moment, the Prime Minister and Shen Zhai continued the conversation with praises of Shen Ling about this and that incident. The prince looked as if he was a fan of his cousin. Mark found them too exaggerated and wanted to stop, but he failed to find a correct time to cut off the topic and was forced to listen patiently until a soldier entered the room and informed them of the arrival of the princess and the queen. The four of them then got up on their feet to continue their conversation during dinner. Just as they exited the chamber, Mark's eyes fell on the two women who had similar features to one another. Looking at them, anyone would say that they were mother and daughter. Mark was then introduced to this legendary princess of the Western Moon Kingdom. After greeting her and her mother, Mark opened his inventory and finally took out something that is covered by a gift wrap. He handed it to the princess. "Your Highness, this is from me." It's a customary practice in this world for the guest to present a small gift to the host when they were invited. However, one cannot give a gift to someone of the above status on any occasion unless they are close. It is considered disrespectful if a stranger breaks that rule. This is why he never gave it to Emperor and his family. On the other hand, he wasn't a citizen of the Western Moon Kingdom, and such a rule wouldn't apply to him. That's why Mark had planned to give the present to the king, but after arriving here, he found the truth about the real king. So, he never brought it out before and only handed it in when he saw the princess. But all of this is unknown to everyone, so in their eyes, he was just trying to grab attention from the princess. Even Shen Ling thought the same and was rather happy because of the misunderstanding. She thanked him and placed it in her storage ring, before proceeding to the dining room along with everyone else. During the first meeting, she maintained her reserved image of a person from the royal family and didn't talk with him at all. But once the dinner is finished and the king insisted on her escorting the guests to their rooms, along with a royal knight, Shen Ling walked along with Mark. It was then she finally put her princess image aside and talked to him in a casual tone, starting with commenting about his lateness. "I didn't expect Mr. Lu would skip the lunch altogether." Mark halted in his tracks and looked at her in surprise, not expecting her to bring up the topic that is long forgotten. As he answered the same thing to her about the fuel, Princess Shen Ling shook her head with a smile. "Our kingdom had spies all over the towns and cities. If you had stopped by one of those places to buy oil then, the spies would have informed Prime Minister Zhu. After all, your vehicle is so unique that it will instill fear in the eyes of a common man. People would always be alert when it considers an unknown. The fact that we don't know about your whereabouts until you reach Lunaris City clearly indicates that you only traveled in the wild for 10 hours. That means you are covering up the truth. In my view, either you purposely came late to test the reactions of my father, or you have been looking for something in the wild. But then again, all of this doesn't matter because you are already here and we had the dinner too. It's just that I feel apologetic to our servants. That's all." Mark was taken aback by her words and stared at her. There was a look of confidence on her face as if she doesn't have any doubt regarding her analysis. Maybe this is how the intellectuals behave. He doesn't know and doesn't care. Feeling that there's no need to insist on the lie, Mark replied with a question. "And does the princess know why I am here?" Chapter 213.2 Mark Meets Shen Ling Part 2. "Well, it's obvious that you are here to see whether you can gain something from this meet." Shen Ling shrugged her shoulders as she answered him. She further said, "But what can our kingdom give you that you won't get it at the imperial city?" "Additional customers." "Nope, I heard that your store was closed a few times due to the lack of goods." "Huge business opportunity. We have wealthy individuals here but can't be compared to the Phoenix Empire. Moreover, the rich people wouldn't care whether the store is within the city or outside. They can always hire people to buy things for them, so it's a no." "Land, you had an 80-acre plot at the Kunyu mountain range, but you have yet to start your manufacturing facility. One would only think about the second one when the first one is completed, so it's a no too. Western Moon can give you two things. First is the access to Leon Empire. Second is the access to the ocean where you can even bypass the Leon Empire and go to the Dragon Empire, other northern independent kingdoms, or even the Beast Empire. Of course, you can also go from the Phoenix Empire for it has a long coastline, but it will take more time unless you plan on flying. Western Yan has a lot of ports, but you have a sour relationship with the Jai family. They might or might not be able to stop you, but they can trouble you for sure. Apart from this, no one here had the strength to trouble a person like you who even managed to tame a legendary realm beast king. Whatever you demand, it will be done, at least if we talk in theory. And in the future, even if you turn against the imperial family of Phoenix, you can simply shift your store as well as home here. The king won't go against you, and the empires cannot break the treaty and invade this land. This is why I think that you are in favor of expanding your store in our kingdom." Mark was indeed surprised by her analysis once again and felt as if she managed to see through his mind. But then again, she wasn't aware of his truth, and neither does she know his revenge plan for his parents. To confuse her a little bit, he responded with praise, followed by a vague statement. "You have a broad mindset, Princess Shen. It is a rare quality among the people who have an upbringing in a wealthy household. Whatever you said was indeed right. However, it wasn't complete, Princess Shen. You are only half right." "Incomplete?" Shen Ling curiously looked at him. "What is that she missed?" Mark simply smiled. "I heard that you are the most intelligent person in this kingdom and are a great lover of solving puzzles. How about I give you a simple question and then a riddle? I will give you a clue for each one. If you aren't interested, then we can forget it." After hearing all the bragging about her, He was curious about whether she is also wise or not. He also wanted to check her knowledge. As she had guessed his intentions, he felt embarrassed and wanted to defeat her in her own game. Maybe that will give him a sense of satisfaction. He was from the era of the internet where one is easily able to acquire information about a lot of things. So, he was confident in challenging her. And Shen Ling accepted right away because she was proud of her intelligence and wisdom. Please go on. Mark then proceeded to ask her the question he was asked when he was recruited into the army in his past life. Who are the two major friends and two major enemies of a soldier, or, in general, a warrior? Friends and enemies of a warrior, Shen Ling thought for a bit. She never heard of such a statement in academic teachings, and neither did she saw in any book, so she had to answer out of her own experience. It took her about half a minute of thinking before opening her mouth. I believe impatience and greed are the enemies of a warrior. And friends? Mark asked with a smile. He was celebrating the small victory in his mind because she was wrong. Hard work and luck. This time she sounded a bit unsure. Mark then said, You have only answered one correct, Princess Shen. Sleep and tiredness are the two major enemies of a soldier. As for friends, they are hard work and caution. A warrior soldier who vanquishes these two enemies and befriends the two friends could accomplish anything. He had expected the princess to argue regarding her answer, but to his surprise, she fell silent for a while before nodding in agreement. You are right. Impatience and greed are indeed enemies of humans, but the deprivation of sleep and tiredness will cause more damage. I'm impressed. Unlike Mark, this wasn't any challenge to her. If she wins, then it displays her skill, and if she loses, then she will learn something new. So she didn't feel any disappointment by the failure and said, You can ask the riddle now. All right, Mark felt a little bit embarrassed by his thoughts upon seeing her positive attitude. This time, he felt a little bit easy on her. He spoke of the riddle he still remembered from his past life, although he changed the name for his convenience. Suppose Princess Shen is stranded on an island covered in forest. One day, when the wind is blowing from the west, lightning strikes the west end of the island and sets fire to the forest. The fire is very violent, burning everything in its path. Without intervention, the fire will burn the whole island, killing you in the process. There are cliffs around the island, so you cannot jump off. There's a mysterious seal placed on you, which suppresses your strength and ether energy. So you only have the strength of a civilian and your body cannot resist the flames. However, you are indeed quick on your feet. In such a case, how can you survive the fire? Chapter 214.3 Mark Meets Shen Ling Part 3. While the question seemed like a tough one at one glance, it is actually quite simple when one understands it properly. He wanted to see if she has the ability to act under difficult circumstances. Unfortunately, he had underestimated her because of the previous question. She only listened to the question once and thought for about 10 seconds before giving the answer. That's easy. If I will be stuck in that kind of situation, I will take a piece of wood and light it from the fire on the west end of the island. Then I use my speed and the wind to my advantage to run towards the eastern end of the island and start a new fire, a few meters nearby. The wind that was blowing from the west will burn it before the incoming fire. After that, I can simply rest at the burnt area at the eastern end and contact my people. Mark was impressed by her answer. He realized that she might not have all the knowledge in the world, but she sure is wise. He nodded with a smile. You are correct, Princess Shen. I will fulfill my word and give you the clue right away. Tomorrow will turn into a memorable day for you, perhaps one of the happiest days in your life. Who knows, you might even cry in happiness. What does that mean? Shen Ling at once wondered what he is going to do that will have that much impact on her. It is clear to her that this is related to her heart rather than her brain. Now, she is usually uninterested in material possessions. Despite being in the five-circle realm, she was more like a scholar rather than a warrior. Instead of a semi-divine weapon, she would be more interested in mysterious ruins, ancient texts, etc. She doesn't know whether this handsome young fellow knows her enough or not, but she decided to believe him and replied, "I will look forward to it then. Trust me, you won't be disappointed." Mark let out a comment and picked up his pace as they reached the guest room. After saying good night, Mark closed his door and lies down on the bed to take a short nap. Alan, on the other hand, simply waited in his room until further orders. Meanwhile, the princess returned to her room and fell into thoughts. If it is just happiness, there can be a lot of things, but she might even cry. It can only happen on a few occasions, like she meets her idol or if her dream has been fulfilled. Maybe there's a hidden portal in the wild which leads to a different world. She let her imagination run wild to expand the possibility of answers. If only I had answered the first question right, I would have connected the two clues and solved the puzzle. Let's see what present he is going to give me tomorrow. She sat on her bed after changing into comfortable wear. Just as she was about to sleep, something clicked in her mind. Speaking of the present, didn't he give me a customary gift? Let's open it before going to bed. She then took out the present from her storage ring and removed the gift wrap. It revealed a metal box with the words, Genesis, on the top with a minimalistic design. It is only stainless steel, so there's nothing important here. However, there's a hidden spell cast on it by the system to make sure that the customers won't feel the heat even if it was placed in the sun for longer durations. Shenling opened the lid and found a glossy black revolver, although with a longer 5-inch barrel. As she picked it up, she saw a note with instructions as well as a small message. After reading it, a trace of surprise appeared on her face. This is the ether firearm, which has yet to be put into a sale. Now, that was unexpected. I really wonder who supplies him with these weapons. But then again, he doesn't seem like the type to bow his head. What if he isn't the puppet of that mysterious existence, but the one who participated in creating these weapons? A strange thought appeared in her head, but she quickly dismissed it away as she had already known about his past 25 years of life. Western Moon's spy network is second to only Webb, so she was confident in the information on him. It was one thing if he kept a low profile as he cultivated under a mysterious master, but it was entirely different if he also had another secret existence. That's why she assumed that she was overthinking. Soon, she fell into sleep. A few hours passed away. Midnight arrived, and except for the soldiers on night shift, everyone else is peacefully sleeping. Mark suddenly opened his eyes as if an alarm rang in his head and woke him up. He took out the pocket watch from the inventory and looked at the time. The dial was glowing in darkness along with the minute and the hour hands. Oh, it was already 2:35. It looks like I have slept for nearly 5 hours. Mark switched on the light and went to the washroom. After washing his face to remove the drowsiness, he switched off the light once again and spoke to the system. Open the pending notifications. The holographic screen appeared before him with the hidden quest notification. He pressed on accept. Ding, you accepted the quest. Ding, would you like to be teleported to the quest location or wait? Warning, if you choose to wait, then you would have to go to the location manually. This is why I kept the notification pending. Mark chose to teleport. Ding, Alan Spencer and Elena Spencer can be teleported to the quest location along with you. Would you like to take them along? Choosing Elena is best, but I cannot leave Song Yue alone without protection. And Alan isn't strong enough yet, but if I equip him with the divine sword right away instead of waiting for his breakthrough, this might work. I might also need disguise too. I should thank Feng Wu for giving me the idea to buy plain masks and black robes. Anyway, let's get going. Very soon, Mark and Alan disappeared from their rooms. Chapter 215.1 Breaking into the Prison Part 1 Qincheng Prison, one of the world's toughest prisons, where notorious human criminals and other intelligent races were imprisoned. It is reputed to have a 0% escape rate over the past 5 decades. The prison was located on the island of Qincheng, which is only about 6 km of R. All it contained was a prison and outposts in every direction. The prisoners here were completely cut off from the world. There are no visitations or releases, and they are known to have only 2 fates, either dying by trying to escape or turning into a bag of bones in the cell. Because the inmates have a lot of reputation in the outside world, there would be always some fanatic followers trying to break into the prison to save their leader. This is why there are more guards around the prison than the number of prisoners. Due to the sheer amount of work put into security, Western Moon was always funded by the other empires whose criminals were facing life imprisonment. In a way, the kingdom holds a bit of leverage over these larger empires, although the king would never exercise that leverage because he couldn't afford to face the anger of the emperors. But the current king, Shen Qiu, is different. Because of the border disputes with the Phoenix Empire, he is constantly challenging the patience of Emperor Shang every time his prime minister visits the imperial city. Of course, he never intended to release the prisoners or anything, but wanted more funds in maintaining security. Shen Qiu wants others to pay money for the prison and its maintenance, while he pockets the money that was supposed to be allotted to it. Several 5-circle and 6-circle realm experts were guarding the island at the outposts and warships that patrol around the place to make sure no one gets near it. These people were paid in full, but because of that, the prison guards with low cultivation levels weren't getting their wages properly. As a result, they take their work lightly. With how the inmates had several powerful seals on their bodies, followed by getting inadequate food, all of them are weaker than a normal person. So, there's nothing to worry about. And in the middle of the night, when several soldiers appeared to be tired and the patrolling of warships was almost reduced to just one ship, Mark and Alan appeared on the island, behind some huge tree. Looking around his surroundings, he found that he was teleported right before the entrance, evading all the possible security on the island. Behind him there were woods spanning over an acre or two. Maybe some soldiers are hiding in the woods. Who knows? The walls were about 50 ft in height, but the entrance gate was only 6 ft big and 6 ft wide. There was a security guard on either side, but to Mark's luckiness, they were currently sleeping. Looking at them, Mark mumbled, "Man, I'm really missing Elena in times like these." "Big brother, I can do better than her," Alan called him out in response. Because it is dark, Mark couldn't see what kind of face the android is making, but just from Alan's words alone, he felt like the male android is getting competitive against his female counterpart. It's something new, but was it good or bad? Only time will tell. Mark realized that it is probably the right time to test the power of the divine sword of Emperor Shun. He opened the inventory and clicked on the sword. Details appeared on a holographic screen. Ares, the Sword of Light, bound. Owner, Alan Spencer. Grade, Celestial. Description: the sword, which was forged by the divine blacksmith of Meng Hui of planet Saleh, belonged to the plane of light and dark. It was previously owned by Emperor Shun and is currently bound to Alan Spencer. During the forge, the blood drawn from the Light Emperor Dragon's heart was used as a catalyst to bring the properties of light attribute. Like other celestial grade weapons, this sword has the capability to hold the ether energy of up to God Realm, 13 circle. Note, only those who have either awakened light attribute or have no compatibility with elemental attributes can use the following skills. Skills list. Illumination, light up the surroundings. CD, 1 second 1 meter radius. Blessing, heal your target. CD, depends on the status and type of injury. Expel, remove the curses on the target. CD, varies on the cursing type and its effects. Eternal light, emit a field of eternal light and temporarily blind the vision of everyone who witnessed it within the range. CD, 60 seconds 10 meter range. Arc of light, slash at empty air and create an arc of light, cutting down everything in its path with 100% attack power of the user. CD, 0 seconds. Light beam, absorb the natural energy from the surroundings and shoot a concentrated beam of light, destroying the enemy with 120% attack power. CD, depends on the final attack power. Light dragon, turn the sword into the divine dragon of light and attack the enemies with 140% attack power. CD, depends on the final attack power. Passive skill. Aura of light. All the stats will be increased by 30% as long as the sword is in the hands of the user, 10% if it is in the hands of a user who is not the owner, but has the light attribute. What the? Mark had hit his back to the trunk of the tree in shock, letting the leaves rustle. Thankfully, it didn't alert the guards who were in deep sleep. It's been a while since he had acquired this divine sword, but considering he was never going to equip it, Mark never inspected its details, worrying that he will regret it. All he knows from the system is that the sword can increase Alan's rank by 1. Mark thought that Alan will have the power of the 7-circle realm when the android will get an upgrade. It is also why he had never equipped him with the sword, feeling that it is useless now. However, Mark had earlier gained the unique skill of the lightning clone. Combined with Thunderblast, he was confident that he wouldn't need the divine sword even in dreams. Not to mention, weapons like swords aren't for a lazy guy like him. He wouldn't like to move too much on normal occasions. Now that he finally saw the details, the reality became difficult to swallow. But then again, what else can he do? He could only let out a sigh and click on equip. As soon as he did that, the divine sword left the inventory in the form of a speck of light and entered Alan's body, becoming one with its new owner. Alan then raised his hand and summoned the exquisite glowing sword. In an instant, energy flowed from the sword into the core of his body. His stats were boosted by 30%, crossing even Alina's stats and reaching 6.7 points. Soon, the surprise on Mark's face was replaced by a pleasant smile, and he immediately takes out a couple of black robes with hoods and blank masks. I should really thank Feng Wu for giving an idea. He then gave a blank mask and a black robe to Alan and wore the other. Once he was fully equipped to hide his face, he looked at the android. "Let's go, Alan." The android understood Mark's intentions and dashed towards the entrance. Chapter 216.2 Breaking into the Prison Part 2. There was a huge wall with a small entrance gate. Beside the gate, 2 guards are sleeping, and this is midnight. What would Mark do in this situation? Option A. He will knock them out and get the keys to open the gate. Option B. He will kill them and get the keys to open the gate. Option C. He will kill one and threaten the other to open the gate. Option D. There's no need to analyze what Mark might do. It is obvious. If Alina had been here, he might choose one of the first 3 options, but since she isn't there then, he was only left with one option, which is to destroy everything in its path as he goes towards his destination. But then again, he understood the quest objective very well. This isn't simply rescuing Shen Niu. He also needed to find him, break him out, and replace him as the king once again while keeping him alive until the completion. He can neither let him become collateral damage, nor should his opponents know that this specific prisoner is the target. As soon as they landed on the island, Mark let Alan scan the surroundings to search for the enemies. While the spirit warriors, who were stationed at the outposts and secretly hiding in the woods, were weaker than a 6-circle realm expert with the exception of 1 warrior, there are 3 powerful spirit warriors who are guarding inside the prison. They can trouble him from completing the mission. 2 of them were found to be at the peak stage of the 6-circle realm, and the remaining one, possibly the warden, is at the 7-circle realm of the intermediate stage. If it is simply killing them, it would have been easy. Mark would summon an attack helicopter and bombard them with the missiles. However, the fact that his target should be alive will make this a challenge. As a result, Mark opened the inventory and took out a rocket launcher. But instead of the gate, he aimed at the woods and clicked on the trigger. A 110 warhead shot from the launcher and struck a tree, triggering the detonation. Boom! A large explosion shook the island and the fire spread in the woods, with the help of winds traveling across the ocean. Because it is midnight when everything was silent, Mark's action drew commotion. The prison guards inside and the spirit warriors stationed outside, everyone had become alert all of a sudden. At the same time, he ordered Alan to cut down the entire wall that is standing in its way and kill everyone who dares to stop him. This is Mark's style. Alan raised the sword and swung it down, slashing at empty air. An arc of concentrated light was created, and it moved towards the target. The sound of the explosion woke up the guards from their sleep, only to spot a powerful incoming attack. As they reacted by jumping aside to save themselves from the ambush, the arc of light had struck the gate accurately. Thud! A part of the metal gate fell on the outside. As he controlled its size, only the gate was damaged. The wall around it was intact as it is. "Big brother, the entrance is open. Shall we get inside?" Alan asked him, to which Mark shook his head as he opened the inventory once again. "No, we will make our stand here and drag out those three. So don't throw weak and accurate attacks like before. Put aside that sword for a second and take this. We need to go wild around to divert their attention. After taking them out, I'll go in and save the target while you guard the entrances. Make sure that no one enters the prison from any side. You are permitted to use the sword, skills, or any weapon in my inventory." He threw a grenade launcher towards him. "Now get to work." Alan caught the weapon and took a great leap, landing on top of 50-ft wall. Meanwhile, the two prison guards, who appeared to be shocked by the sudden turn of events, pulled out their weapons to engage the enemy. Because of the flames in the nearby woods, they could see the presence of two intruders. As soon as they saw one of them disappear from their vision, one of them said, "Inform the captain, hurry." The other nodded and entered the prison to inform their immediate superior. Meanwhile, Mark ignored them and took out another warhead. He equipped it to the rocket launcher before turning to the northeast and clicking the trigger, launching another attack at an angle between 40 and 45 degrees. He didn't aim at a particular spot. All he needed are a series of continuous explosions in different places. Taking advantage of its 600 meters absolute range, he was able to launch the warheads in different directions, almost setting the whole woods on fire, thereby trying to distract the attention of the guards. Of course, he wasn't alone here. Alan was also continuously launching 40 grenades while running on the wall, making it seem like the prison was being attacked by all the sides. Boom, boom, boom. Through their collective efforts, the entire woods were set on fire and triggered the waves of restlessness among the guards due to the powerful explosions. Meanwhile, inside the prison, in warden's quarters, in a royally-looking room that doesn't match with a place like a prison, on a king-size bed, a fatty was snoring heavily with two malnourished naked young women with scars on their back. They also have a type of seal over their foreheads, which has not only sealed their ether energy, but also suppresses their physical strength by 90%. Are they prisoners? Probably. But who cares? Even if it turns out that these young women are innocent and were falsely framed before being taken advantage of by the warden, Mark wouldn't flinch because it is not his or his friend's problem to deal with anyway. Just like the others, the powerful explosions also woke them up from their sleep. The young women panicked but didn't dare to speak out in presence of the warden. On the other hand, the warden furrowed his brows and activated his senses to full. What's going on?" He dressed up quickly and exited his room. The young women looked at each other and also dressed but didn't follow him. They stayed in a corner, hugging each other in fear. On the way, he met two of his direct subordinates who are on their way to meet him, while sending away the other prison guards towards all of the exits. Lord Ren, the two Six-Circle Realm expert cupped their fists and bowed. "Forget the formalities. What the hell is going on outside?" he snarled at them in response. He appeared to be more irritated that his sleep was disturbed rather than the prison being attacked. As he is a 7-Circle Realm expert, he doesn't care about getting fired. One of the two guardians, named Long Yazhu, reported to him, "We too have no idea. Neither of us could sense any unfamiliar energy on the outside." While he was speaking, another couple of explosions startled them. Rather than an attack, it looked like someone is challenging us to fight, or it might be an attempt to break in. Long Yazhu, you guard the southeastern gate, and Sun Zia, you guard the northwestern gate. I'll go to the main gate. Whoever it is, they will pay very dearly. The fatty clenched his fist in anger. Chapter 217.3 Breaking into the Prison, Part 3. Unlike Alan, as Mark didn't move from the spot while targeting different locations, the guards that came out of the northwestern gate had spotted him. There were about 12 of them, of which 4 were in the 5-circle realm, and the rest were in the 4-circle realm. All of them drew out their weapons as soon as they spotted a stranger with a hood and mask. If it was some other place like the royal palace, they would first ask about his identity as well as his motive, followed by a warning to stop and surrender. If an intruder doesn't accept the surrender, they would try to capture him and give the death sentence as the last resort. However, the Kincheng prison is different. The guards directly went for the kill after seeing Mark without considering any circumstances or consequences. Unfortunately for them, it's the person who doesn't have any care for the lives of the strangers. As Mark knew that he was in the 30-meter range, he didn't fire the warhead at the enemies that appeared. Instead, he unleashed the lightning clone skill and ordered it to kill them. Before they even get an opportunity to attack Mark, his mighty clone raised its arm and charged forward, striking their chests one after another. For a moment, Mark's vision went blurry because of his connection with the clone. It was like his eyes couldn't follow the movements of his body. It was too fast for him. One strike, one kill. Within 5 seconds, dozen corpses fell on the ground. With a thought, he dismissed the clone after wasting 2 seconds, 2% of his ether energy. As a result, he lost 7% of his ether energy, 4,650 ether points. But he was satisfied with the result because this was his strength, neither his androids nor his weapons. Okay, the small fish are dead. Now, let's wait for the big fish. Mark loaded a warhead in the rocket launcher but didn't shoot it. He calmly stared at the prison's entrance. Roughly half a minute later, one of his 3 targets appeared. Long Yazhu glanced around his surroundings. His facial expression turned serious upon spotting the corpses of his subordinates. Then, there was a huge fire burning in the woods. Finally, his eyes fell on Mark with a rocket launcher on his shoulder. Bastard! Like his subordinates, he too didn't waste the time chatting with the enemy and directly sprung into action. Lightning Clone activate. Mark also resummoned his lightning clone, which readily blocked his attack and countered with a kick to his chin. As Long Yazhu flew by the kick, Mark ordered his clone, "Don't kill him, just knock him out." The lightning clone leaped towards its opponent and planted another kick, this time in the abdomen as Yazhu was still in the air. Long Yazhu crashed onto the wall and fell to the ground. The sturdy wall cracked but managed to stand. Damn it, this enemy is stronger than me. Long Yazhu wiped the blood from his lips as he slowly stood on the ground. Instead of attacking with all of his strength, he took out some talisman and ignited it with his ether energy. Unfortunately for him, the lightning clone was too fast. Before he even managed to send a message to the warden, the clone reached him and gave a solid kick to his thigh. Argh! Long Yazhu screamed in pain, but the lightning clone didn't stop its attacks. It gave consecutive punches, smashing his bones all over his body. Long Yazhu lost consciousness. Dismiss. Mark slowly walked toward his body after checking his status. Upon reaching him, he observed him for a few seconds and nodded in satisfaction. Okay, one is down. I wonder what happened to the other. He connected to Alan and inquired about the other 6-circle realm expert through the system. Meanwhile, at the southeastern entrance gate, a fatty was engaged in a sword battle with Alan. A spear user was supporting the fatty. Alan looked like he wasn't gaining any advantage. Both of them were trying their best to kill him, but Alan calmly parried their attacks while looking for a way to break through their defense without killing them, of course. As he is in the middle of a battle, the system sent a message to him. Alan didn't waste any time backing off a bit and sending back the reply. Ding! Alan replies that he is in the middle of a battle with the spirit warrior named Sun Zia and the warden of the prison, Ren Zhelan. A two-front battle. Mark furrowed his brows by the reply sent by Alan. He didn't expect Alan would face 2 of them at the same time. According to his strategy, the 3 of them should separate and go to each entrance gate to check upon the attackers, as he and Alan were making explosions from all the sides of the prison. Was he wrong in his approach? He couldn't help but wonder. In fact, he was right. They were separated for sure, but Mark had made the mistake of letting Alan climb the outer wall. Because of that, he was spotted by the warden, and he changed his direction upon witnessing the divine sword on Alan and got consumed by greed. He doesn't know that it was a divine grade sword, but he knows for sure that it was more powerful than his platinum grade sword. As the semi-divine weapons were bound to the owner, he decided to kill Alan at all costs, thinking it as compensation for causing chaos around his prison and disturbing his sleep. And once they clashed their weapons, Reincarnation realized that the other party was equally strong and can heal himself through the light attribute. As a result, he couldn't even injure him, much less kill him, so he took the help of Sun Zia. If not for the fact that the explosions continued even after his clash with Alan, Reincarnation would have even brought Long Yazhu to assist him. But anyway, 2-on-1 is also good, considering they are managing to push back the android to a disadvantage. Unfortunately for him, his subordinate was already defeated and Mark is free to move. At the same time, Alan wasn't using his offensive skills because his master ordered him not to kill them. That means he was only allowed to use them on weaklings who will cross the woods and come towards the prison. Why did Mark give such a strange order when he mercilessly killed a dozen prison guards earlier? It's because of their usefulness. Unlike 4-circle and below realm warriors, 5-circle and 6-circle realm experts were important to any organization or kingdom. As they weren't high-level warriors like Exalt realm experts, they usually have less arrogance and would stay bound to duty under normal circumstances. As a result, they are important to the kingdom. Since he was going to save the king, he will naturally become an ally of Western Moon. So, he shouldn't harm the kingdom by killing them unnecessarily when he had a choice of sparing their lives. As for why Mark had cleaned up those 5-circle realm experts too, it is because he doesn't think too much of them. For him, anyone below 6-circle isn't worth thinking about. Maybe his decision will change once he gets his hands on more powerful weapons, but for now, he decided not to kill 6-circle experts who could be useful to him in the future. And now that he felt like it is difficult for Alan to hold back any longer, Mark ordered the android to lead his opponents to him. Chapter 218.4 Breaking into the Prison Part 4. Upon receiving the message, Alan dropped his battle and started running away. "Don't let him escape," Reincarnation shouted and chased after him without knowing that he was going to fall into a trap. Meanwhile, Mark opened his skill list and was ready to launch the skill. Soon, he saw the Alan in a hood and mask. Alan landed before him, and just a couple of seconds later, a fatty fellow and a buffed guy appeared in his view. Their faces weren't clearly visible due to the darkness. Only due to the flames around, Mark and his opponents could see each other. A frown appeared on Reincarnation when he saw Mark. He mumbled, "This guy also didn't have ether energy. How could these guys conceal even from my senses? By the way, what is that weapon on his shoulder?" Reincarnation stared at the rocket launcher, which looked different from the grenade launcher that he had earlier seen in Alan's hands before their battle. Reincarnation then spotted the body of his direct subordinate along with the prison guards. He let out a sigh of relief when he sensed that Long Yazhu was alive. This time, he didn't rush like before because he knew that not anyone would be able to turn his subordinate like this in such a short span of time. He was sure that this new guy is at least in the same realm as him. Fortunately, he couldn't sense the presence of any semi-divine weapon in Mark's hands, so he wasn't afraid. "Who are you?" he asked Mark, who had his hand raised above his head, stretched towards the sky. "Thunder Blast, activate." In response to his question, Mark unleashed his strongest skill. A powerful thunder was heard in the sky where dark clouds gathered. Before the sound reached the ears of everyone, a blue bolt of lightning struck the fatty, turning him into ash in a split second. Even his platinum-grade weapon and his storage ring along with the things inside it weren't left behind. Sun Zia just stared at the ash in a daze. Lord Ren died just like that. In an instant, he realized that he wasn't a match for the two men before him. What loyalty, what pride, and what resilience. Everything is nothing before life for people like Sun Zia. To even take revenge, he had to stay alive first. As for getting persecuted by the kingdom for neglecting his duties, he wasn't worried about that. Will a king punish a peak stage 6 circle realm expert like him? No kingdom or sect would dare to do that. That's why he put away his pride right away and kneeled on the spot. Show mercy, Lord. If you have a problem with the kingdom of Western Moon, I will even sever my ties with this land and leave for someplace, never to be seen again. He was lucky that Mark doesn't have any intention to kill him. Looking straight at him, he said, I'm here to free one prisoner. I'll take him with me, and those who stand in my way will die. If you want to live, make way for us. With the demise of Lord Ren, I possess the highest authority. Sun Zia sighed in relief and got up on his feet. He made a fist and placed it on his chest. Your wish will be fulfilled. All I request is that there won't be any more casualties. Seeing how the warden died, Sun Zia guessed that this young man was probably a legendary realm expert. If he truly is one, then, even if all the guards fought against him, everyone would just die. And with the death of Ren Zhelan, along with Long Yuja's unconscious state, the security strength of the prison had reduced by 2/3. In such a state, even if Mark turned out to be in the high peak stage of the 7-circle realm, it will be nothing but a massacre. Maybe, if those experts stationed in warships will join, then there might be a chance, but he doesn't want to take such a gamble when this can solve by releasing one prisoner. The only thing that is puzzling him is the identity of the prisoner that is related to this crazy devil. The kingdom of Western Moon was also careful in imprisoning the criminals in this prison. Well, at least during the past few decades. Due to spending hefty funds on salaries for 7-circle realm experts, they had to tone down the level of security along with the inmates too. They stopped putting risky prisoners here like someone who is an elite member or an elder of a powerful sect, or a close relative of Exalt Realm or higher realm spirit warrior. Criminals with powerful backgrounds were killed in secret instead. The current inmates of Qincheng prison might have decent backgrounds, but none of those backings have the guts to challenge Western Moon Kingdom's strength and the authority of powerful empires like the Leon Empire and Phoenix Empire. That is why Mark's appearance is a shocking incident for Sun Zia, who was enjoying his free income without doing any work. In the end, he personally escorted Mark and Alan while ignoring the corpses around. Mark didn't expect that his mission would get easier. Instead of just killing one after another, Sun Zia's assistants will reduce his work. Of course, he was ready to unleash absolute freezing in case of an unlikely ambush. After all, it's foolishness to trust a stranger. On the way, they met several prison guards, but all of them were sent away to the entrance and were ordered to guard it. After informing them that everything had been settled, Sun Zia strictly told them to not let anyone into the prison, especially the guards from the outposts. Because of his authority in the prison, no one dared to question him and followed the orders. Mark was satisfied with his method that not only saved the lives of the prison guards, but also stopped the unnecessary interference from other guards. It didn't take long for them to cross one of the inner gates of the prison. From there, it is a circular structure. One after another, they visited each cell. Mark continuously used his sage eyes to inspect their details from the outside. Sun Zia didn't understand why Mark wasn't just speaking out his name, so that finding that inmate would become easier, but the latter was careful about the matter. After searching for more than 320 cells, spending more than 2 hours, Mark finally stumbled upon the old man who had a long beard and disheveled hair, lying motionless in the corner of the cell despite the earlier commotion. Shen Niu. Race human. Age 68. Rank NA. Spirit path mage. Attribute dark. Affiliation Western Moon Kingdom. Description: the former king of the Western Moon Kingdom. After being defeated by his twin brother in a coup led by a supreme general, he was sent to Qincheng prison in secret. Note: the person has the Doom seal placed by the Church of Doom, resulting in the loss of ether particles. Doom seal, Mark wondered what it is. And there's Church of Doom too, which he had never heard before. He could ask the system, but since there's a guy here who is following his orders, Mark said to the Sixth Circle Realm expert. "Mr. Sun, tell me about Church of Doom." Chapter 219, Church of Doom. Sun Zia was a little bit surprised by the question, as it is common knowledge to the citizens of Western Moon Kingdom. Nevertheless, he answered, "Church of Doom is the most powerful organization of our kingdom. Even though it is called a church, it is more like a cult, worshipping the evil Tauti and wearing Tauti masks too. No one knows their origins, but they came to the shores of Western Moon about 3 centuries ago. Back then, the Church of Light opposed their existence and termed them evil because of their practices, but the Church of Doom was too strong, with its leader said to be in the Supreme Realm. They wiped out half of our army, hunted down the members of the Church of Light to the last man, and massacred more than 2 million citizens. It forced supreme beings to take action and get to an agreement. In exchange for the Church of Doom being given a place in the Kingdom of Western Moon and recruiting the citizens, the organization will not influence the king and interfere in the internal matters of the kingdom. Of course, this treaty also forced the Church of Light to leave the kingdom permanently. While the leaders of the Church of Doom kept their word for decades, the kings couldn't help but be restless. After all, it is like hosting a tiger in your house. You can't sleep even if it is a harmless one. So about 2 centuries ago, King Shen Yang had made another deal with them. The royal family will pay tributes to them in the form of funds, and in exchange, they will not only have to help out with the seals but also come to their aid in case an empire or any sect invades their land. Maybe they have a grand plan, or maybe they simply don't. Whatever the case, until now, Church of Doom is staying true to the agreements even after 2 centuries. It was a shocking piece of information to Mark. He didn't expect that there's a powerful organization with a supreme being as its head. He felt like he really underestimated this tiny independent kingdom. Mark thought that the kingdom is depending on the treaty between Western Moon and the 2 empires. Staring at the real king, Mark mumbled, "No wonder Shen Qiu is bold enough to challenge the imperial palace." "Sorry," Sun Zia's ears perked up when he heard a familiar name. It looks like he indeed has a great sense of hearing. Mark didn't speak it again and said, "Open it." Sun Zia finally placed his attention on the inmate. He doesn't have any idea who it is, though. After securing the unconscious king, Mark and Alan left the prison. They reached the compound. Instead of going outside, Mark had directly summoned the attack helicopter. He and the unconscious king sat in the back while Alan closed the doors and started flying. As the attack helicopter flew into the air while pushing away everyone nearby with the wind generated by the rotor blades, Sun Zia stared at it and mumbled, "What kind of puppet is this?" Once the helicopter is out of his sight, he remembered something important. That's right, Brother Yazhu was still alive back then. He rushed towards the northwestern gate. Meanwhile, in the helicopter, Mark was getting an urge to vomit due to the bad smell coming from this rugged old man who looked more like a beggar than a king. Being in a tighter space, the smell only became worse. As a result, he was forced to use ether energy to block his sense of smell while looking outside. It was night, so not much was visible, well, at least for the next half an hour. Then he found thousands of tiny lights spread all over the land. It was the capital city of Western Moon. As the island of Qincheng was too far from the mainland, no citizen of any city or town was alarmed at the moment, although the same can't be said for the royal family and the ministers. As the king had summoned the high-level officials at early morning 5, and is discussing the attack of mysterious people on Qincheng prison, resulting in the deaths of 8 4-Circle Realm warriors, 4 5-Circle Realm warriors, and 1 7-Circle Realm spirit warrior. The appearance of an attack helicopter alerted the soldiers stationed in the city of Zhisheng. After landing at a deserted place within the city, Mark dismissed the attack helicopter and summoned his LMV light multi-role vehicle, throwing away the king in the back seat while he drove it. Mark traveled in random directions for a while to look for a citizen. Fortunately for him, a few soldiers were already looking for him. He encountered a unit of about 8 members. He stopped driving and simply showed them his invitation letter. making them understand that he was a guest of the king. The captain read the letter and wondered whether this man with a mysterious vehicle was late or whether he came 6 days earlier. Whatever the case, the letter had a royal seal along with the king's name, which itself states that he can't mess with the person. As a result, he didn't question him much and politely asked whether he could provide any assistance. Mark replied, "Do you know where I can find an inn? The rental price isn't important, but I need a peaceful atmosphere." "There's an inn named Bao Bao. I think it will suit your needs, Lord Lu." The captain informed him right away, as the inn is quite famous among tourists. Upon reaching there, Mark also requested servants to clean up the old man who looked like a beggar. The owner was quite cooperative. Even though it is rather early in the morning, he followed Mark's request. Strangely, the old man didn't wake up even after being cleaned up and was dressed in new clothes by the hired servants. Was he in a coma? Mark suspected at first, but as there's no status attached to his details, naturally, he asked the system for answers. And in response, he received a couple of notifications. Ding, the seal of doom that was used on King Shen Nui is more powerful than a normal one. As a result, his consciousness was also sealed along with his ether energy. Ding, you triggered a hidden quest. Break the seal of doom. Quest, break the seal of doom. Description: a legendary realm, 8th Circle expert had unleashed a unique seal known as the Seal of Doom onto King Shen Nui before he was locked away at Qincheng prison. Break the seal and save the victim. Reward: unique skill Seal Breaker. Seal Breaker, system shed some light. Ding, Seal Breaker skill would let the host remove any type of seal, as long as it is under ancient grade. Seal grades: Common, Elite, Knight, General, King, Emperor, Ancient, Saint, God. Oh, that's awesome. Mark was now excited. Free rewards are always welcomed. But then something clicked in his mind. How should he break the seal in the first place? He inquired with the system once again. Ding, Solution 1. Use 1 billion EP ether points worth of ether energy to break the seal by force. Ding, Solution 2. Buy a platinum-grade purification stone from the store and nullify the effects of the seal. Ding, Solution 3. Exchange attack helicopter EC-665 with the system to temporarily get access to Proto's energy reserves of the system and remove the seal. Mark's expression changed suddenly, and he couldn't help but let out a sigh. Does the system hold a grudge on me or something? None of those solutions are fucking viable. Chapter 220. Now the system is even offering a credit card. Mark neither had the strength nor the will to sacrifice his beloved attack helicopter. Previously, he had given up the battle tank for the divine sword, but it was worth it. However, was the life of this king worth it? Maybe it's best to throw away the life of this old man. Having a submarine or a destroyer is good, but they aren't worth compared to the attack helicopter. As Mark thought of it as an impossible quest and had second thoughts about completing it, the system lured him into debt. Ding, the host can use the stone first and pay up later. Pay up later, as in credits. Ding, 1 credit equals 5 gold coins. The purification stone will cost 50,000 credits. 250,000 gold coins will be added to the debt. 250K. Are you crazy? Mark gasped in shock. He instantly rejected the idea. There's no way I would give up such a huge amount of money just so to wake up this old man. Fuck off the quest. I will just take him to the royal palace and leave his fate in their hands. If they frame him as Shen Qiu, or will they suspect the current imposter king, let them take care of their mess. Even if the system is allowing him to take care of the problem and pay off the debts later, Mark was unwilling. Maybe, if he was desperate for warships, he would have thought it differently, but at the moment, he prefers combat aircraft over the submarine. However, the system never does things half-heartedly. When it offers something in one way or another, the system always acquires something in return. This is its strength and also its weakness. It was the first time Mark had realized the fact when he doesn't accept its solutions. The system gave him another proposal. Ding, accepting the offer will unlock the credits limit and the unique items section in store. Credit limit, unique items, explain. Mark could vaguely guess what they are just by their names, but nevertheless, he asked the system for clarity. Ding! Upon unlocking the credit limit, the host could shop in the store and pay up later with a low interest of 0.1% per day. Ding! Based on the host's repayment history, the credit limit will increase gradually. For every 10 credits the host repays to the system, the credit limit will be increased by 1 credit by the next day. Ding! As a beginner, the host would be given a 100,000 credit limit at the start. Ding! The unique items section was a part of unique weapons in the store. Upon unlocking it, the host would be able to buy unique items that aren't present in the items section, although the rest of the unique weapons will remain unavailable to buy. So it's like a credit card, huh? Although with slightly different terms and conditions. Just like the system expected, Mark was tempted by this offer, because he was confident in paying back by converting earned gold coins to the credits. Originally, he had the money to buy the stone, but it would make his life difficult. A while ago, Feng Wu had given him an advance payment of 300k gold coins. Of them, 42k gold coins were put as a 20% upfront for his first order that was delayed by 8 weeks due to his promise with Emperor Shang. Of the remaining 258k gold coins, he had delivered 175k gold coins worth of goods to Feng Wu on the second order, which was basically the same as the first order plus 10 rocket launchers and 100 warheads. From it, he earned his 60% share totaling over 100k gold coins. So there are more than 120k gold coins that are still unaccounted yet. From the second prince, he earned over 18k gold coins as a part of his share. As for purchases, he might have ordered rare materials and a 1500 carat ether ore, but he didn't receive the order and only paid over 30k gold coins as an advance payment. Along with his personal wealth, he had a total of over 400k gold coins in the inventory. So if he had spent away 250k right away, it will bring him a lot of trouble in the future. But now, because of the offer from the system, he felt as if a huge door was opened. As the increase of the credit limit occurs right on the next day, Mark felt like it is a good deal, despite the fact that he knew how this offer was a bottomless debt. For example, if he had spent 20k credits, i.e. 100k gold coins, on the first day, the interest would be 100 gold coins. The next day, it would be 100 gold coins and 10 silver coins. On the third day, it would be 100 gold coins, 20 silver coins, and 1 copper coin. Like this, the interest will be kept on increasing minutely every day. Still, Mark is willing to take the risk. Instead of lavishly spending his gold coins, he decided to save the earned money to convert it into credits. However, he wasn't willing to just accept the system's verdict. Mark had realized the system's personality based on its actions during the awakening of bloodline or during the exchange of divine sword. Back then, he just thought that the system is desperate to take back the battle tank. But when he gave a thought, it originally wanted the divine sword, but because of the failure, it offered something else and became open to negotiations. Mark got a strong feeling that he should negotiate the deal. However, he also knew that he needed to be logical to win over it. He followed his guts and said, "The credit limit is not enough, system. Once you have taken 50,000 credits, I will be only left with another 50,000. I don't have any credits left in my account either. So, how about 200,000 credits?" The system readily gave him the reply, obviously not accepting it. Ding! 200,000 credits amount is the same as million gold coins. The host had yet to earn such a figure even if all the purchases are combined. So, the host's proposal is rejected. If only the deal with Feng Wu had gone through smoothly, I would have made him buy advanced weapons with the remaining amount. But anyway, it only brought me extra business from him. So, there's nothing to complain over there. But then again, my transactions are over 500k, right? Just the first transaction with the second prince was alone worth 500k. Then there is 130k gold coins worth of transactions from the noble clans. Even though it is only nothing but compensation, It is still a transaction like the one I sell the beast corpses with cores to the second prince. Despite how the system didn't include these transactions for quests, it has still acknowledged them as viable transactions and will include them during its upgrade to the next rank. That is how it crossed rank 3 anyway. So I can use this fact to my advantage. As Mark put his plan into action, the system became silent. Roughly after 10 seconds, it agreed with the negotiation and gave a final deal. Ding, 160,000 credit limit. Deal or no deal? Mark let out a bright smile as he nodded. I accept. In the next second, the purification stone was sent to his inventory, followed by a series of notifications.